My parents finally disowned my sister after years of blind favoritism. She calls me constantly, begging for forgiveness. I can't bring myself to answer, but sometimes I wonder, did I save this family, or murder it? It was supposed to be a celebration. Ashley's 23rd birthday dinner. The table was loaded with food, glasses clinking, the buzz of too much alcohol in the air. By then, I'd lost count of how many drinks had been poured. My dad was at least 5 deep when he suddenly tapped his fork against his glass like some kind of grandmaster of ceremonies. He stood tall, grinning from ear to ear, and with this booming voice he announced, "We decided to go to Europe without you, Kevin." I blinked. Without me? For a second, I thought it was some kind of twisted joke. I waited for the punchline. But before I could even open my mouth, Ashley leaned in with this smug smile plastered across her face and said, "Good." She said it like it was the funniest thing in the world. Everyone laughed. Well, not really laughed. It was that awkward, uncomfortable chuckle people give when they don't know if they're supposed to. And me? I wasn't even angry. Honestly, it was just another reminder of my permanent role as the family outcast. This wasn't new. Over the last few years, my parents had gone on 4 big trips without me. And each time, I swallowed it, made excuses like, "Oh, I'm busy with work," just to save face. But this time? I wasn't in the mood to play along. So I laughed too. A sharp, unexpected laugh that made everyone pause. I leaned back in my chair, folded my arms, and asked casually, "What money are you planning to use for this little trip?" The room stilled. Mom and Dad exchanged these puzzled glances, and Dad's grin faltered. "What do you mean?" he asked, suddenly sober. I shook my head and smirked. "Do you even realize Ashley and her husband already burned through the money you gave them?" You could have heard a pin drop. Ashley's face froze, then hardened like stone. "That's not true," she snapped, her voice sharp and defensive. Dad's face darkened. "What money are you talking about?" I sighed, feeling the weight of years of unspoken words pressing against my chest. "The money you gave Ashley and Josh for a house. They're not saving it. They've been blowing it on nightclubs, restaurants, and God knows what else. The accounts you set up for them? Empty." For a long second, nobody moved. Dad's eyes darted to Ashley, then to Josh, who looked like he wanted to slide under the table and vanish. Mom's jaw dropped, her lips parting but no words coming out. "Kevin's lying." Ashley shouted, panic rising in her voice. "You always do this, you can't stand to see me happy, so you make up stories to turn Mom and Dad against me." I leaned forward, my voice calm, almost casual. "Check the accounts yourself. It won't take long to figure out who's lying." Josh just stared down at his plate, hands frozen on his fork, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. He didn't say a word. That silence, it was louder than anything I could have said. Ashley shot him a glare so sharp it could have cut glass, but he just sat there, mute. And that was all it took for the whole thing to unravel. Voices rose. My parents demanded answers. Ashley shouted back, trying to spin it, throwing accusations at me. The room that was supposed to be filled with birthday cheer turned into a battlefield. All the favoritism, the grudges, the broken promises, they all came boiling up to the surface at once. I just sat there for a minute, watching the chaos I'd set off. And then, quietly, I stood up, pushed in my chair, and walked out. Nobody noticed. Not a single person looked up. That dinner, meant to celebrate Ashley, had transformed into an all-out war. And you know what? I didn't feel an ounce of guilt. After years of being treated like the afterthought, only invited to family dinners because Grandma insisted, I figured, they had it coming. Maybe this time, they'd finally see Ashley for who she really was. The next morning, my phone lit up like a fire alarm. Missed calls stacked one after another, notifications buzzing nonstop. Mom, Dad, both of them asking where I was, if I was okay, as if they had suddenly remembered I even existed. At first, I ignored it. I wasn't exactly eager to jump back into last night's circus. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me, and I called Mom back. She answered so fast it was like she'd been sitting there with her finger hovering over the button. "Kevin, why didn't you tell us sooner?" she blurted out, her voice practically shaking through the phone. I couldn't help but laugh, bitter and tired. "Do you really think you would have believed me if I had?" Silence. That heavy kind of silence where you know the truth is sinking in, even if they don't want to admit it. I could almost hear her thinking, replaying all the times she and Dad had taken Ashley's side without question. Ashley, the golden child. Ashley, who could do no wrong. And me? I was the disappointment. The one they looked at like a lost cause. Ever since I lost my last job, they treated me less like a son and more like an inconvenience. If it weren't for Grandma insisting I show up to family gatherings, I doubt I'd even have a seat at the table anymore. Finally, Mom spoke again. Her voice was softer, slower. "We checked the accounts, you were right." Of course I was right, I said, not even trying to hide the bite in my tone. Ashley and Josh had been draining their savings for months. I'd heard stories from mutual friends, people who saw them splurging at expensive restaurants, throwing money around at nightclubs like it was endless. I hadn't planned to expose them, not really. But after Dad's little announcement last night, I couldn't stop myself. It wasn't just about a Europe trip. It was about years of standing on the outside, looking in. What's going to happen now? I asked, more out of curiosity than actual concern. Mom sighed. Your father is furious. He's been at it with Ashley all morning. Josh stormed out earlier and hasn't come back. We're still trying to figure out what to do next. Then her voice shifted, softened in a way I wasn't used to. Look, Kevin, I'm sorry. For everything. We didn't realize how bad things had gotten between you and Ashley. We want to make it right. I froze. That wasn't what I was expecting. Not from her. I kept my response short. Okay. When we hung up, I just sat there, staring at my phone. I didn't know whether to trust this sudden change of heart. Was it guilt? Shame? Maybe just embarrassment that Ashley had finally pushed things too far? Still, I couldn't lie to myself. A small part of me felt relief. Like maybe, just maybe, something was finally shifting. Later that afternoon, Dad called. His tone was rough at first, all grumbles and anger about how disappointed he was in Ashley, how Josh was nothing but dead weight. Then he said something I never thought I'd hear. Listen, he muttered, your mom and I have been talking. We want to make it up to you. How about we take a trip? Just us. No, Ashley. I had to bite my lip to keep from laughing. You're serious? Yeah, he said. We were thinking a road trip up the coast. Something simple. Just to spend some time together. We owe you that much. If you told me a year ago that my parents would invite me, and only me, on a trip, I would have called you insane. But here it was. Strange. Surreal. And oddly, satisfying. Like all those years of being pushed aside were finally paying off. I'll think about it, I said, trying to sound casual. Good. Let us know, Dad replied before hanging up. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Ashley wasn't the type to go down quietly, and Josh? I doubted he'd stick around much longer now that my parents were turning against her. Still, for the first time in years, I felt like I had the upper hand. This wasn't just about revenge. Okay, maybe a little bit. But more than anything, it was about finally being seen. They couldn't ignore me anymore. The next day, my phone buzzed again, but this time, it wasn't Mom or Dad. It was Ashley. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. Part of me wanted to hit decline. But curiosity? Curiosity won. I figured she'd either scream at me or throw out a half-hearted apology. With Ashley, it was always one or the other. The second I picked up, I didn't even get a hello. You really think you're hot stuff now, don't you? She hissed. I exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of my nose. What do you want, Ashley? You had no right to bring that up in front of everyone, she snapped. Her voice was trembling, not with sadness but with rage. You ruined everything. Josh is pissed, my husband might actually leave, and Mom and Dad won't stop grilling me. All because you couldn't keep your mouth shut. I barked out a bitter laugh. Maybe you should have thought about that before you spent all their money. This isn't on me, Ash, you did this to yourself. Her tone sharpened like broken glass. You think you're better than me? Please. You've been unemployed for months. You're living off Grandma's charity. The only reason you even got invited to that dinner was because she begged them to let you come. That stung. I won't lie. But I wasn't about to let her see me flinch. Funny how you're the one who's broke now, not me, I shot back. Good luck explaining that to Mom and Dad. She let out this guttural growl, then, click, hung up on me. Typical Ashley. Whenever the walls closed in, she shifted the blame and bolted. I figured that would be the end of it, at least for a while. But I was wrong. Later that day, my phone rang again. Mom's voice this time, frantic and weary. Kevin, can you come over? Things are escalating. My stomach dropped. Escalating how? Josh packed his things and left. Ashley's in a bad place, she's saying some disturbing things. I hesitated. God knows, part of me wanted to stay far out of it. But another part, the brother in me, no matter how much we clashed, didn't want to risk something terrible happening. I'll be there soon, I said. When I walked into my parents' house, the atmosphere was heavy, suffocating. Ashley was pacing the living room, ranting like the walls themselves were against her. Mom and Dad sat slumped on the couch, looking drained, like they'd aged 10 years overnight. And Josh? Gone. The moment Ashley saw me, she snapped. Are you happy now? Josh left because of you. I met her glare, steady. Josh left because he doesn't want to face Mom and Dad. Don't dump that on me. Her voice cracked with anger. You don't understand anything. You think I'm just some spoiled brat, but I've been under so much pressure. Josh has been unemployed for almost a year. We didn't tell anyone because we knew you'd judge us. That stopped me cold. I hadn't known. I felt the ground shift under me, hearing it out loud. So why didn't you ask for help instead of burning through all that money? I asked quietly. We thought we could handle it ourselves, she snapped back. We thought things would turn around. But everything went downhill, and now I'm the bad guy. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then she twisted the knife. And of course, you couldn't wait to kick me when I was down. I shook my head. This wasn't about kicking you, Ashley. I just wanted Mom and Dad to finally see the truth. She sneered. Yeah? Well, congratulations. Mission accomplished. Before I could respond, Dad stood up. His face was grim, but his voice was steadier than I'd heard in years. Enough. We've all made mistakes here. But this fighting, this isn't helping anyone. Ashley, you have to take responsibility. And Kevin, he turned toward me, you're not off the hook either. We should have been there for you when you lost your job. We're a family. And it's time we started acting like one. For once, it wasn't just a lecture. It was honesty. A rare flash of humility from him. I wasn't sure how much of it I believed, but it was something. A start. Ashley rolled her eyes, muttered whatever, and stormed off to her old bedroom. The house rattled as the door slammed shut. I stayed behind, talking with Mom and Dad. They seemed determined now, actually determined, to try and fix things with me. It felt strange. After years of being sidelined, they were finally reaching out. But I wasn't about to just forgive and forget. They'd have to earn it. When I finally left, Dad stopped me at the door. His voice was quieter this time, almost hopeful. Hey. About that trip, we've been looking at some places. We really want you to come with us. I hesitated, then gave him a small nod. I'll think about it. When I got home, I saw a text from Grandma waiting for me. Proud of you, Kevin. You deserve better. That hit harder than I expected. She'd always been in my corner, the only one who never made me feel like an outsider. And now, for the first time, it felt like maybe my parents were finally starting to come around. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The cracks in this family ran deep, and Ashley? Something told me her troubles were just beginning. I didn't expect Grandma to call so soon after the dinner fallout, but her name popped up on my phone early the next morning. Her voice was steady, but there was an edge to it I hadn't heard in years, the kind of edge that meant something serious had happened. Kevin, she said right away, I thought you should know what your sister did last night. My chest tightened. I sat up, suddenly wide awake. What now? What could she possibly have done this time? Grandma took a breath. She came over late, drunk and furious. She accused me, said I'd turned your parents against her because I coddled you. And then, she tried to threaten me. My stomach dropped. Threaten you? How? I asked, already picturing the worst. Grandma's voice hardened. She told me she would tell everyone I was losing it, claim I'm not fit to live alone so she could get control of my money. She said she'd convince your parents to put me under someone else's care. For a beat I couldn't process it. Ashley, my sister who'd always loved the spotlight, who'd spent years cultivating this perfect daughter image, would try to wrest control of Grandma's finances just to save face? Really? The thought felt obscene. Did she actually say that? I heard myself whisper. She did, Grandma replied. But she didn't expect me to stand up to her. I told her I wouldn't be blackmailed by my own granddaughter. I said I'd call the police if she didn't leave. She tried to bluff me, said I wouldn't have the nerve, but you know me, Kevin, I don't play games. I pictured the scene in my head, Ashley, stumbling, furious, brandishing some cruel ultimatum. Grandma, small but immovable, dialing 911 in the middle of the living room like she always had when things got ugly. Finally, Grandma said, it was the sight of the police number on the screen that made Ashley bolt. She ran out like a coward. Hearing that, I felt a cold fury cut through me. This was a new low, even for her. I'd expected manipulation, gossip, maybe a temper tantrum that got out of hand. But threatening Grandma, trying to strip a frail old woman of her independence just to keep up appearances? That crossed a line I didn't even know existed in our family. Why would she do that? I asked, half to Grandma and half to myself. She's desperate, Kevin, Grandma said plainly. You exposed her lies. For years your parents treated her like she walked on water. Now that the illusion is cracked, she's terrified of losing control. So she lashes out. Sadness and anger braided together in my chest. Part of me felt sorry for Ashley, the desperation, the fear of losing everything she'd built her identity around. But most of me was furious. This wasn't just sibling rivalry anymore. This was calculated, vicious. I'm sorry, Grandma, I said, softer than I expected. Don't be, she answered quickly. This isn't your fault. Ashley made her choices. But be careful, Kevin. I don't think she's done. Her warning hung in the air like a storm cloud. Then she added, with that steady, stubborn love that had always been my anchor, you're not alone. Your parents are starting to see the truth, and I'll always be in your corner. Don't let them get to you. After we hung up, I sat with the phone in my hand longer than I should have. The house was quiet, too quiet, and my thoughts were loud. Ashley was unraveling, and whatever she did next wouldn't be small or petty. It would be deliberate. I closed my eyes and made a promise to myself. I wasn't going to let her drag me down with her. But even as I said it, a cold knot of certainty formed in my gut. This was far from over. After the incident at Grandma's, things unraveled faster than I ever could have imagined. Word spread like wildfire. I didn't even have to say anything. Grandma had already filled Mom and Dad in, and that was it. The final straw. For the first time in my life, I watched my parents do something I never thought they'd have the courage to do. They cut Ashley off completely. No more money. No more excuses. No more taking her calls. They blocked her on everything and told her, flat out, that until she took responsibility for her actions, she wasn't welcome in their lives. It felt surreal. These were the same parents who had defended her through every mistake, every tantrum, every obvious screw-up. And now? They were done. Ashley didn't handle it well, of course. She tried every angle. Angry texts at first, then the guilt trips, then showing up unannounced at Dad's office. Nothing worked. And when the door slammed in her face one too many times, she started to fade from our lives like smoke slipping out a window. Josh, meanwhile, made his move. He packed his bags, filed for divorce, and officially washed his hands of her. He hadn't exactly been the husband of the year, but even he had his limits, and Ashley had pushed him past them. Weeks went by. I didn't hear her name, didn't see her face. I figured she was bouncing between couches somewhere, plotting her next comeback. But then, about 2 months later, Mom called me out of the blue. She just showed up, she said, her voice tight. Ashley's on our doorstep. My stomach dropped. What did she want? She looked awful, Mom admitted. Like she hadn't slept or eaten properly in weeks. She begged us to let her stay, said she was ready to start over, to fix things. And? I asked, holding my breath. And we told her no. I almost dropped the phone. You really turned her away? Yes. Your father and I agreed, we can't enable her anymore. We told her she needs to take accountability, and until she does, she can't stay here. I exhaled, realizing I'd been holding the air in my lungs since she started talking. For once, they didn't cave. How did she take it? Not well, Mom admitted. She got angry. accused us of abandoning her, said we'd been brainwashed by you and Grandma. But we stood our ground. Eventually, she left. I sat there in stunned silence. Part of me ached for her, she was still my sister, no matter what, but another part of me felt something I hadn't felt in years. Vindication. For so long, she'd been untouchable. Always the golden child, always forgiven. And now, finally, she was facing the consequences. What do you think she's going to do now? I asked. I don't know, Mom said softly. I just hope she figures it out. But Kevin, we're not going to let her hurt this family anymore. We're done. Hearing that gave me something I'd been chasing my whole life, closure. A few days later, word trickled through a mutual friend. Ashley was holed up at a cheap motel on the edge of town. No job. No husband. No family to lean on. She had burned every single bridge. Months passed, and just like that, she became a ghost. People said she moved to a small city a few hours away. No one knew the details, and honestly, no one seemed interested in finding out. For once, people saw her for what she really was, a manipulator who couldn't stand losing control. And me? My life started moving forward. Mom and Dad were finally making an effort. Real effort. We spent time together without the usual tension, had honest conversations, even talked about the past, about all the ways they had failed me. They admitted it. They said they hadn't treated me fairly, especially when I lost my job. It wasn't some magical overnight fix, but it felt real. Like maybe, for the first time, we were actually becoming a family. We even went on that road trip Dad had mentioned. Just me and my parents. At first it was awkward, we didn't know how to act without Ashley dominating the room, but slowly, the tension faded. We laughed. Shared stories. And for once, I didn't feel like the extra kid no one wanted around. Ashley, though? She wasn't done trying. After months of silence, she reached out to me. The message wasn't angry this time. No threats. No venom. She played the victim. Kevin, I know I messed up. I'm sorry for everything. I've just been through so much. Josh left me, Mom and Dad turned their backs, and now I'm all alone. Please, can we just talk? I stared at the words on my screen for a long time. Part of me wanted to believe her. But the smarter part of me, the part that had been burned too many times, knew better. Ashley didn't reach out because she cared about me. She reached out because she wanted something. So I didn't respond. Neither did my parents. The last I heard, she was scraping by in that new city, working some part-time job, trying to rebuild the life she had wrecked with her own choices. No big comeback story. No dramatic redemption. Just existing. Alone. And me? I've stopped resenting her. I don't pity her either. I feel nothing. For once, I'm not the loser of the family anymore. I'm just Kevin. And honestly, that's enough. Sometimes the people who spend their lives trying to control everything end up losing it all. Ashley learned that the hard way.